Look what you did, you little jerk!
What's going on, jerk faces? Welcome to another episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast. We got a special returning guest, Hydraberg, all the way from way out east. How's it going, buddy?
What's up?
Andy, of course, you're always here with me doing this thing.
Yep.
We are tired and weary, but you know what? We had to talk about Aliens. This is continuing our retrospective of the Alien franchise, and arguably the best of the series. I would say definitely like the best, one of the best sequels ever made. Actually, we've had you on for like the best remake of a film, and now the best sequel to a film. I think that's pretty awesome. Anyways, yeah, so we're going to be talking about Aliens from 1986. When did you guys first come to Aliens?
I don't know the exact... I mean, it was at some point when it came to, like, video. I definitely saw this on video.
Okay.
In the 80s.
Okay, so you saw it pretty recently after, like, you know, like, within a few years after it came out.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the theater, but...
Andy, did those infamous cousins get to you? And
I don't. No, not this one.
Yeah, because I was only 6 years old when this came out, so my parents weren't like dragging me to see Aliens at 6.
Yeah.
Right.
I was so.
It was the 80s, though. I mean, I was into some stuff at 6 years old already, so.
Yeah.
Right. I forget when in the 80s did this come out? Like in theaters.
86.
So you were
86?
2, Andy.
Yeah, so I was 2. So yeah. Well, then again, I have to guess. I have to correct myself. And it might have been my cousins, but I don't recall it. You know, I don't recall crying when watching this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I probably watched it on home video as well, but probably much later than you, Hydraberg.
Yeah.
Now the other big question is, did you watch this or Alien first?
I can't remember. I feel like I might have seen this first. I don't know.
Yeah, I think me too.
I have memories of like the Space Marines before anything because I remember the toys that came out and they were so badass. Like they had like armor pieces on them and really cool the plasma rifles and
right.
I need to get my hands on some of those if I can find them.
And there was the armored vehicle.
Oh yeah.
Vehicle too.
Shit. And I think it had a door that opened like this, and then you could like stick Marines in there.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
Nice.
They had the lieutenant or whatever that peed himself or whatever.
Yeah.
What was their captain? I forgot his name.
Yeah, I forget too.
Gorman.
That sounds right.
Was that
Gorman.
It?
Yeah, Lieutenant Gorman.
Yeah, that's right. He was lieutenant. Yeah. He didn't piss himself, but he practically did. He was.
Yeah, he did.
He bumped his head and got a boo-boo.
No, we were. We always like. I was always when I watch this film, like I always make fun of it. Like he's like, "God damn it, Ripley!" It's like a woman's driving. You know,
yeah, right. This movie's very dated.
Yeah. So my first recollection of the franchise is actually not through either Alien or Aliens. The first movie that I watched that kind of like introduced me to the idea of this franchise is a small movie that Andy and I have reviewed with my dad that Andy did not like, called Galaxina. And it's a parody of a lot of like sci-fi films, but Alien.
A lot of sci-fi tropes.
Yeah, and it came out a year after Alien.
Is that a Roger Corman film?
You know what? I don't think it is.
Okay.
I don't think it's a Roger
sounds
Corman
like
film.
one.
But it does. I mean, it has all the Roger Corman tropes. I'm pretty sure they went to the Roger Corman school. But and that movie has its own kind of fun history to it. But yeah, it's like they had like their own parody of the chest burster scene.
Okay.
You know, the pods that, like, you know, obviously the
hyperspace pods.
Yeah.
So I think the first movie that really cued me in on Alien before I actually saw the first Alien was Spaceballs.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
in the restaurant where I didn't know what that. I thought it was funny. The alien dancing, doing the hello, my baby, hello, my
Hello.
darling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah, Spaceballs is another one. But yeah, so I was introduced to this franchise well before I ever watched it. But I think I'm pretty sure I watched the first one before I saw Aliens. I think I did watch them in order. I do remember watching Alien first. I think that was one of my VHS tapes that my grandfather had. So I'm pretty sure that I watched it before that. So, but yeah, I love this movie. It's so much. It's what I like about it is, yeah, you have a different director. You have a different. You're almost turning into a different genre. It's more of like a sci-fi action film as opposed to like
Oh,
a
you
horror.
definitely are.
Yeah, and yet despite that, like you are continuing the story in a very natural way that makes sense, and it's like you buy into it.
Yeah,
I
and I feel like this film sets up a lot of the going forward, a lot of the beats of like what makes an alien film a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is that's typical of James Cameron films. Like he with Terminator 2, he just he did the Spinal Tap thing. He just dialed it to 11. He took what came before, just dialed it to 11.
Yeah, which was his own film as well.
Yeah, with T2. But like he was
Yeah.
coming into this after Ridley Scott, and like it was, and we'll get into some of the behind the scenes stuff of the film. But before we do that, we'll give the synopsis of the film. And normally Andy's the synopsis guy. He's usually telling us how the film goes. But we do have a special treat. Hydraberg has a cut above special, the reach around.
I did.
We've talked about it on our channel with John. We've talked about it with Hydraberg and like how he does that. And he brought it. He had a special one just for this movie. So
yeah, so you guys are in for a treat.
Hit us up with that reach around.
Yeah, so the reach around is just it's going to be a synopsis, but it's going to be in like a spoken word sort of vibe.
Yeah, a limerick, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Floating through space, a salvage team found a survivor of the Nostromo and the terrors that went down. No one aware what she saw in that place. For 57 years, she floated in space. Ellen, she managed to get out all alone, except for her cat, known only as Jones. She told the tale of LV-426, a celestial dwarf, and how her whole crew was slaughtered by a xenomorph. A creature so deadly it struck from above, an apex predator with acid for blood. The corporation didn't believe her honesty, because they had already established a mining colony. When connection with the miners was severed and bent, to this planet of terrors our girl Ripley went. This time with the pack of the most badass Marines, who had searched and destroyed all that they'd seen. But the horror that awaited their minds couldn't dream. A vision of hope and Newt they did gleam, for Ellen a surrogate daughter, a reason to survive this onslaught of slaughter. Escape once again come hell or high water. Her life in synthetic hands she now placed, as a hugger attempts to latch onto her face. All part of Burke's evil plan, but for Ripley we stand. And if you disagree, it's game over, man. So if epic fights with two queens is a scratch you must itch, I hope you enjoyed my cargo bay elevator pitch. And I leave you with these words. Get away from her, you bitch.
Yes. That is fucking brilliant.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
That was special.
That is a special treat. If you want to hear more of these great reach rounds and get tickled in the balls, go and watch or go and listen to a Cut Above horror review.
Tickled in the genitals. Let's say.
Yeah, right. Although now they say that women can have balls.
Oh, well, I know plenty of women that have balls. Ripley is a woman who has balls.
That is true.
Touche.
So just to touch on that too, she's like, it's hard to just. I have to acknowledge, like Ripley's one of my favorite, like just, I don't know, just female heroines, or just, I consider her a final girl, if you will.
She is, and like she is like a final girl, yet at the same time she's like an action hero. It's it's kind of crazy like how that works out, because she's even in the first one, we talked about this, like the way that they did the script. is the actress actually didn't know who the final person was going to be. It was written in a way that it's like it could be anybody is the final.
It was originally written for a man.
That's right.
And so that's why her character is like sort of like has the qualities of a man in the well, not that the qualities are the same really no matter what, but the way it was written at the time, it was supposed to be like a man. So
right, yeah. So it was just more. It was
think it
crafted
works
for a
perfectly.
man, but it could put anyone could have probably filled that.
yeah,
filled the role.
like there's plenty of women that are strong-willed like that, obviously. Like so, it just works out perfectly for me, and I feel like she's probably like an inspiration to several young women during the 80s. Just seeing that movie and seeing Ripley do her thing, especially in the first film and then this one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's just like, I don't know, I always just thought she was an amazing character.
Would you? Okay, well, another quick question. Like, would you?
Yeah.
Are you a more of a Ripley fan or a Sarah Connor fan?
I think I like Ripley better. Sarah
Yeah.
Connor's cool.
Yeah, it's just
Right.
something about To me, Ripley is not just like a cool female character. She's just cool
Yeah,
altogether.
I think Sarah
Over.
Connor is just a little too broken.
she is, and she's just so fucking edgy. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, as
It's like
opposed
fun,
to
like-
Ripley, she has her traumas and everything, but like she wasn't broken by them.
yeah, and I feel like Ripley, you could still hang out with her and not be brought down. Like Sarah Connor, I'm like,
yeah.
please, I'm just
I
trying to
know, like
relax.
she's just going to like this existential screed about how everything's
Yeah.
meaningless.
We're all gonna die.
You're all gonna die. Your bones are gonna be turned to dust.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to hear that. All right.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, who brought Sarah again?
But similar. So going into this movie, similar to Alien, one I wanted to focus on because the big reveal in this is like, oh shit, Burke. He's kind of the guy that is portraying like this nice guy. He's like, oh, he's like, yeah, he works for the company, but don't hold that against me. And he's playing all innocent and nice, but when you know the twist and you go back and you watch him, dude, he is just like Ash in the first one.
Yeah.
What a fucking evil piece of shit.
But I mean, it's
Yeah.
worse than this because Ash was just doing what he was programmed.
Right.
told to do. He's a fucking android.
Ash didn't really have any agency as opposed to
Yeah.
Burke.
Oh, see,
Yeah, Burke's a human
I think
being,
so.
and
I think Ash did have even though they are the synthetic, which we find out later on, but there's a lot of stuff where I don't think it was. I think Ash did have some sort of sentience to do what.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't feel like Ash was originally programmed to do that. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, once they got that distress call or whatever, that's when, he was probably in contact with the corporation, and that's when they sent him like his new directive or
New
whatever.
orders and stuff.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But yeah.
You know what I mean? But with Burke, I mean, he set out to literally do that from the get-go, I feel like.
Right.
Do you think that Burke, from literally from the very beginning, knew exactly what was going on that planet, and he knew they found Ripley?
I think so, maybe. I wonder sometimes if they literally started mining that planet just looking for the fucking aliens. Like maybe the corporation set all that up.
Oh,
just
right.
So
That's the whole reason why they colonized it.
I mean, maybe they knew of the planet from the first movie, right?
Yeah. Do you think that he maybe because it's just dumb luck that we found your ship 50 some years later? Because God, how old is? No, it wouldn't have been.
It was like 50 years, 55 years, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or 57.
that.
What did I say at my reach around?
I was gonna say it wouldn't have been Burke that would have just let her drift off into space. But
No, I think they found her by accident.
it was kind of an accident, but they knew about that planet and some
Right, so it's probably they probably picked it up because they colonized it, and so there's probably regular traffic there now, and so.
Do you think that they did pick up her transmission, that she left at the end of the film?
Yeah.
She left the record. Do you think that they heard that?
Yeah, they did, and they knew about the ship that she had self-destructed and everything like that. I feel like they knew all about that.
Okay, all right.
Because that's what they have that I feel like once she's finally debriefed with the, she debriefs them and tells them what happened. Like that's when they give her like that whole
Yeah, the whole Rip Van Winkle thing.
yeah, and not like quite a trial, but whatever it is that like where they basically they demote her.
Dude,
Oh yeah, it's kind of
She says she can't be a pilot anymore.
Those people don't give two fucks. Like they already had like their whatever their it was a kangaroo court. They already knew what they were going to do to her, and like you see like the
corporation.
guy he was doing his fucking crossword puzzle. Yeah, the other lady is just like oh whatever she smoking and like whatever. She's just like oh yeah we never found any any ship over there. It's like. Listen,
and imagine being Ripley. Like, if you lost 57 years of your life, you literally survived like some horrors that like are almost unexplainable to anybody else.
It's just like a couple of days.
Or like I mean, well, maybe that's why that Ripley was able to relate to like the Marines so much.
Yeah.
Because like I mean, like what she went through in the original movie is tantamount to like someone being in combat. So I think that's why she was able to like relate and.
She had PTSD a little bit. I mean, look, we get her in the beginning. She has a nightmare that seems like real life when we see the chest burster come out of her.
Because to her, that happened like yesterday. So, Kane having that thing like burst out of his chest. Of course she'd be traumatized. It's 57 years for everyone else, but for her, it's yesterday.
Really, yeah.
And so she's gonna have that. That trauma, and
I just want to know what Jones was doing when she left him behind.
Who took care of Jones?
Yeah, what happened to Jones? Like, we need a sequel.
I know, right? Just from the perspective of Jones and whoever was taking care of him.
Is that what that game Stray is about? Then you think?
Yeah. Alien strays. Yeah. The Jones story.
Right.
But yeah, poor Jonesy. Oh.
In theaters, right? Meow.
Right now.
There's the Ridley Scott version of the movie that we need is not Prometheus.
I know, not like the origin of the aliens, but what happened to the real burning question? What happened to Jones?
It's always bothered me a little bit that so I'm sure it's part of your like Ridley Scott doesn't really acknowledge this film, right? Like as part of the canon.
Aliens? No, not really.
Which is like, how can you like, regardless of how you feel, like this movie is amazing.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And it like it's not the same tonally as your film, but it's perfect. Like they're to me, like Alien is one of my favorite horror films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sci-fi horror films. And this is one of my favorite sci-fi action films.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't okay, maybe they're not exactly, it's like peanut butter and jelly. You put them together.
Yeah,
and they're both, like, they're both good by themselves, but together they're amazing.
I got chocolate in my peanut butter.
Yeah, it's like, how dare you? But it's like, oh, wait a minute, this tastes delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But yeah,
I never understood that he didn't acknowledge this film.
I think because he wasn't. I have a feeling because he had his own thoughts and he
wasn't consulted on it properly.
He wasn't consulted James Cameron, to his credit, has said it's like. Yeah, if I could go back and change a few things and like how I dealt with people, doing this film, I would have done it better because he didn't talk to Ridley Scott at all. He didn't acknowledge him. He wouldn't let H.R. Geiger be a part of the film, the guy who created the fucking aliens to begin with.
Xenomorphs, yeah.
Well, yeah, because I know the Queen wasn't. That was like Cameron came up with the idea for the Queen, right? I believe, or him and his yeah.
I mean, it looks great. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying like that was probably a big like kind of like, dude, come on, don't the people who made Alien great. You're not even like utilizing them as a resource. And I understand you want to.
I feel like some of that might be budget issues too. You know what I mean? Like we don't know how much it would cost to even get Geiger on it again, or
maybe that's true.
You know what I mean? And like
that's
James
fair.
Cameron wasn't exactly like what do you have under his belt at this moment?
Terminator.
And some Corman films, right? Like,
well, the reason why he got the directing role is because he was working on Terminator, and they had actually approached him to do something. It's like, well, I'm doing this film, I can't do it. And then I guess like there was something that happened with Arnold. And so he had about like 6 months to like, I think he got injured or something like that. So he had some time. It's like, well, I guess they'll do like a quick write up, and like he did up to like Act 2, and they looked at it as like, okay, yeah, if Terminator is a success, you're the director, and
I don't feel like Terminator was like huge.
but it ended up
No,
like
yeah,
to them,
and I mean it was
like a success. You know,
yeah, it was
Yeah,
practically an independent film.
Yeah.
The other problem too is the studio also didn't acknowledge the success that Alien was, because it was a profitable, successful, good horror film. That they're like, no, it actually really wasn't as financially successful as as you guys
It
are
was
making
probably
it out to be.
expensive too.
Yeah, because this film was for its time. It was like $20 million, which is a lot.
Yeah, this film was hard to make, to say the least, and it propelled James Cameron to be the name that he is today.
Yeah,
I feel like with Terminator, this, and then just like his track record after Terminator
this gave
2, and
like the probably the cachet to do Terminator 2 and like a bunch of the other stuff that he wanted to do. This is the movie that really catapulted him.
yeah, I mean, if you look at his career, he hasn't made a lot of films. He's just made huge films.
Yeah. Well, he is arguably the most successful director in that sense, because
It takes a long time in between each films too,
Yeah.
to create something new.
he has 2 films that have made like over $1 billion. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
But anyways, like so yeah, you have Burke, who's just a complete dick, right from the beginning. Like, and it's like, but you don't know that initially. Like, it is kind of like, oh, he seems like a nice guy. Yeah, he works for the company, but he's on Ripley's side. Ripley's side. It's so you have that. The other thing I like that they do with this is what we find out too. Burke also utilizes this lieutenant who is inexperienced, and there's nothing worse than like a officer, a guy that just became an officer. Those guys are the worst.
So I've never really thought about it, but there's probably you think there's a good chance that guy was put in there on purpose?
Oh yeah. Oh, he was hand selected by Burke.
Yeah.
Because Burke thought he could manipulate him.
Yeah.
Oh, an experienced guy. He's gonna follow company orders. Blah blah blah. And it's like they, of course, because if they chose someone with the experience of like Apone, the sergeant, none of this shit would have ever happened.
Nah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean
they would have listened to Ripley a little bit more too.
Yeah, I mean, but he was like, he basically did the company move again, because in the first one, they slapped together like the crew last minute practically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
we actually we talked about how like the crew itself is actually a fractured crew, because you have like Kane, Dallas, and Veronica Cartwright's character. They're kind of a group. Ripley is kind of by herself, and then you have the other two that were down, like the two
engineering crew.
Yeah, the engineering crew. It was those guys.
Yeah.
And Ash was kind of like he's kind of like the company. So you have like 4 groups, and so
they were all working class people.
Yeah, but like none of them were like they weren't like a team like the Colonial.
They never They never worked together like on multiple jobs before. They don't have like that tight camaraderie. So when things like when Dallas starts doing like weird things, they would immediately call them out on that shit and be like, hey, what the hell is you doing? You're going against protocol or blah 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 blah. But there's not enough people who again like that. The Nostromo's crew was put together like so like randomly that no one like knew anybody or worked together long term. So they're really strangers.
Yeah, and
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think Burke specifically chose Gorman, because he knew that was going to be his way to kind of have his way, because they're going to, being part of I was in the military, even, as an enlisted person, you might have the experience, but the officer is the one that is going to supersede
he
you.
has the final say.
They'll take you under advisement, if they're not a complete dick, but a lot of them don't. Especially
you're
brand new.
You follow chain of command regardless of how you feel about things. You're following orders,
right?
If you want to make it, and
like
and
that
not
like that
court-martialed.
scene, like when they discover it's like, oh shit, we can't be firing our weapons in here, otherwise we're gonna be in a nuclear explosion.
That's horrible.
Yeah. No, like the Apone would never have done that if like it was actually no seasoned officer would be like, yeah, fuck that, we're gonna keep.
Well, if they honestly understood the threat at hand.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because it's played down. Nobody believed Ripley to begin with.
Right.
And so like,
yeah, where's your evidence?
dude, the fucking Space Marines are like one of the best parts of this movie to me. Like,
Yeah,
they're just so.
Oh, totally.
So
their look and like their like the team in general, they're just so badass, and like I just love like all the different characters from Hicks, Hudson, what was it, Drake, Vasquez, who is my favorite to be honest.
I love Vasquez.
Apone,
which is
Vasquez, who's not actually Hispanic.
No, she's a Jewish woman.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's so crazy.
Brown face.
Terminator 2.
It is. I thought, yeah, she is. She's a stepmom.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was fucking totally Hispanic at the time when I saw her.
I did too.
You know what I mean? I don't feel like she does like a ton of like horrible stereotypes with her accent.
No.
But
it is affected. Yeah, she does.
It should have been it should have been a Hispanic woman doing the role. But still, I mean, like, I still love the actress and the way she portrayed it. Like, I love
of course.
Her character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you ever think that Drake and Vasquez were getting it on at all? Because it was like, yeah, I bet Vasquez probably pegged him, but you know, you could definitely do worse. So like, I thought she was hot anyway. So like, you know.
Oh, dude, yeah, I totally thought that too because it was funny on Twitter. There was a thread of like, you know, what's the sexiest like non-sex scene in a film? And of course, I chose Hicks and Ripley. You know, like, you know, them like Hicks showing her how to use the weapon. But then like someone else brought up another point in the film. Was like, and I was like, oh yeah, what about Vasquez and like Drake like doing like the whole fucking gun thing together? Like and like
yeah, when they're like
maneuvers. Yeah.
Oh, I love that gun. That gun doesn't make sense to me in a way, but I love it anyway.
By the way, that is a camera arm.
Yeah, that's a steady cam arm. Yeah, steady cam arm.
And that's the whole rig going around you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. Hey.
And then like it's like a Gatling gun almost, but they use like this tiny little clip. But I guess it's like plasma rounds. So like,
yeah.
They're not regular bullets.
Yeah. Or it's like battery powered.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of what the Space Marines remind me is because you're setting up this like totally badass crew that like, you know, they've seen it all, they've done it all. You know, that's like no one can fuck with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similar to what we have in Predator. You know, it's like you set up this whole badass crew, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go in here, we're gonna kick ass, we're gonna take names, and it's like chew bubblegum and like kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. You know, it's
just another day in the Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And
I love the Corps.
Which and it's like and kind of like, you know, like those guns that Vasquez and Drake use, kind of similar to like, you know, Jesse Ventura, like with the machine gun he has. It's like,
oh yeah.
I love that Hicks too. He goes old school and he packs the just the regular fucking shotgun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that thing belongs in a museum at this point in the future.
Right, I know.
But he hides it, right, when they're told not to bring their weapons.
Yeah.
He takes that anyway, which was smart.
Well, yeah, like I said,
he had some sense.
Yeah.
I love when they land, and they land and they form up in the rain, and I just think they just look so badass when they're starting to spread out and like move up towards the compound.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, because we all watched the extended cut, right, the director's cut, so we got to see the establishment of the colony. And we get to see Newt's family find the ship that they originally found in the first Alien, right?
Mm-hmm. By the way.
With the pilot, with the navigator or whatever they were called. And I just love like the armored transport too, that they take in.
Yeah, the APC.
Yeah, that thing's so badass looking.
I don't know about you guys, but I got like when they drop, I got like Dr. Strangelove vibes from there. Like, you know, when the dude like riding the bomb down, like
Slim Pickens.
Yeah, Slim Pickens' character from Dr. Strangelove riding the bomb down.
Because it's like a moment where they just kind of fall in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without activating like their burners, their thrusters or anything, right? And they're just kind of like falling down.
Yeah, they're just free falling.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
And especially because you have Hudson, who's like, he's talking all that shit. It's kind of like he's like Slim Pickens, like waving his fucking cowboy hat around.
Yeah,
It's
get
like,
some,
Oh yeah, and he's
get
talking about
some.
like all the weapons that they have.
smoke half a city with this puppy. It's
Yeah. We got flamethrowers, we got MPGs, we got RPGs, whatever. I don't know what the fuck he says, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
He is Bill Paxton in this film.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Bill Paxton.
But he is like on the edge of being like too ridiculous. But like he navigates that so well because it's like he's the comic relief, but he's
a little bit, yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's great because he's comic relief, but he's also kind of the what's like the kind of stand-in for the audience because he reacts the same way that like we would react, and even though he's like this well-trained Marine.
Yeah, but he's losing it a little bit. But he's kept in line by Hicks basically. Mm-hmm. Like
he's also like what a lot of people don't. He's actually pretty smart too. Because he's one of the few that can read like those the maps, like figures out like
the technical maps.
We found the column.
He helps set up the sentry guns and like he's like good at his job. He's just never, he's frazzled. He lost most of his team in that moment in that ambush with the aliens, and like he's never fucking like they mentioned. Is this another bug hunt? So obviously there are like aliens out there in this world. That these Marines have gone against. I kind of think like they went against things that like Starship Troopers sort of things or like sort of creatures, but they've never gone against something as bad as the Xenomorph. They don't even understand it.
And it's like
nobody has except for Ripley.
Yeah, it's like when Vasquez signed up, when they said alien, she thought they meant illegal aliens, so she signed up. It's like, man.
I love that.
So clearly, like U.S. and Mexico relations have not changed in
haven't improved in over a century.
I think the banter between the Marines is perfect though, because that's how like camaraderie is. Like,
exactly.
People are riffing on each other, but at the end of the day, they're back to back when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, you get like 10 minutes with like most of those characters, but you buy the camaraderie. Like you buy that they've been like a team forever. And
when they set up. And they're eating after they get out of the cryo sleep and they're all fucking groggy and they have their meal or whatever and they're talking about the shitty cornbread.
Yeah, it's like, I guess.
And we get introduced to everybody. Yeah, and the lieutenant's sitting by him separate and there's like, oh, he won't sit with the grunts. And then Ripley finds out that Bishop's a synthetic because he does the stabbing thing. Yeah. Now, I've heard that stabbing thing, Bill Paxton was not aware that was going to happen.
Really? Okay.
And that's why the look on his face. Yeah, that Lance Henriksen did that for real.
Now the camera is sped up like in that scene. Yeah. But it's still like it's like even like you're going like that knife was sharp. That was a real knife used.
Mm-hmm. And he practiced that.
Yeah.
Like a lot with a real knife.
Lance Henriksen, I love that guy. He's
and movies
he has this intense look about him.
Yeah. Well, he's one of the great voice actors too. He's done a ton of shit. Like he's in one of my favorite video game series, Mass Effect. He's one of like the admirals, and he's just like I was like, oh man, that's Bishop. All right.
Yeah, he's really good in this, and so we get to see Ripley's so like turned off when she finds out that he's synthetic. She's because of what happened with her first mission. With Ash, and she's just like, no way, I'm not, like, stay the fuck away from me. And I just love that moment where I can't remember the Marine's name, but he's just like, I
guess you don't like the cornbread
either. Yeah, I just love that line.
And it was Frost.
Frost. Yeah,
the black guy was Frost.
He's the one who gets burnt with the ammo, right? Yeah.
And he gets like blown up with all the ammunition too. It's
that's right.
Yeah.
The what was I gonna say? Shit. But yeah, no, Bishop is he's just he's a cool character. He ends up being a cool character, but like throughout the whole thing, it's you're wondering like, is he like Ash? Is he or is he a bad guy? Is he with us? Nobody knows.
But you grow to really care for him. I feel like in this film, it does a good job of like subverting. Of what we know about synthetics from the first film.
Right. And we are constantly watching Bishop to see like when he flips.
Yeah, and he goes into the tube to travel And like he even says, he's like, I don't want to go do this. Like I don't like I may be synthetic, but I don't want to.
But I'm not stupid.
Yeah, I'm not
Right.
stupid. I don't want to die. You know what I mean, or be shut down. But like
Mhm.
I'm gonna go do this for you guys. Like he does the job he's supposed to do, and he travels to go set up the satellite again, so he can bring in the second transport, the second airship
Yeah.
Yeah.
remotely, and in the end. He does the fucking, in the end, we get that awesome ending. I don't want to jump ahead yet, but I do love when the aliens first attack, though. Like, I just love the whole setup of the Marines entering the base, and like
Mhm.
we
'Cause
see
it's
the
so
entrance is normal, and then we start getting like progression of like the walls are slimy, like weird things are happening. We're
Right.
starting to, the architecture looks different because the aliens have started to like build over it
Right.
with their alien bullshit, like whatever the fuck it is, and it's just like I don't know. You get what's his name? The lieutenant's name again?
Gorman.
Gordon.
Gorman. Yeah, like he's just given the most basic like information, like oh, move forward. Like he doesn't know what he's fucking doing at all.
Like,
And
oh, well, we're clear. It's like, no, we're not clear, you moron.
yeah, and Ripley can see what's going on. She knows.
That he's an idiot.
Yeah,
But
from
like
looking
he's
over
only
his
done
shoulder.
like 38 simulated like combat drops, and it's like, oh shit, oh man, like
Yeah.
even Marines are like, Jesus, really?
He's never been in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the aliens first attack, it's just like everything goes to shit. And because they're told to put away their ammo, they're defenseless in a sense, And then Ripley just takes charge, which I just love.
It's like, what, a woman's driving?
Yeah, I just love it. Well, she takes the comms and just starts talking
Yeah.
to the Marines, and then
Mhm.
I love Hicks's Marines, we are leaving. Like
Yeah.
it's
And
just such an awesome scene.
what's crazy about like that too, like because yeah, like you said, it's almost like how like like in Contra, like where like as you go further into that game, it just gets like weirder and weirder as you descend into this kind of
Which is based on this movie.
Yes, it was. We talked about it in the
and
last
Predator, right? And Rambo a little bit. Like it's all like a little blend.
Yeah, it's all a mismatch of all.
Yeah,
all
these
of
these films and like the films like Metroid, Contra, Predator, it's like all this shit like because they're inspired by something great, which is fine. I think that's awesome. We call it cinematic archaeology, it's and but yeah, they descend into like they look at like the main base, like where all the families and stuff lived, and everything's all fucked up and acid. They obviously had killed some of them because there's a bunch of acid everywhere.
Yeah, you can see the holes in the floor and stuff like that.
Yeah. So clearly there was some sort of fight, and because I assume like from the time that they lost contact to the point that they got there, it had been maybe what 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, I would say a pretty good chunk of time for the
Yeah.
aliens to set up the way they have.
Yeah. And
because they're dug in at that point.
Yeah. But then they decide to go into another portion of the base to see if they see anything, and that's where like they find all the well, I think because they set up like at the computer because they see the face huggers, a couple of them being alive.
Right, like specimens, yeah.
Love at first sight. And then and this is where Hudson shows his, he's pretty smart. He's looking through the computer system, looking for the trackers for the colonists, and he finds that they're all stationed over at the, I guess like one of the cooling towers or whatever.
Yeah, all their tracking beacons or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what brings them into like the den of like the aliens, and it's almost like
the nest.
Yeah, the nest. And what's so cool is like how that they made it look like where it's there's nobody there. They see like the one lady that's cocooned. You get the chest burst scene. They flamethrow the shit out of her, and then that's what wakes up like kind of like if you were like in a cave with bats. It wakes up all the aliens, and they just crawl out of the walls. I'm like, oh,
they were all there already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just like in that one scene in Alien where she thinks she's gotten away.
Right, in the escape pod.
The escape pod, ship, and then like the aliens literally hiding in the, and it just looks very similar to the architecture of the ship
like a
itself.
conduit or something.
Yeah, and
And
it just falls out of it.
They fucking wipe out everybody. It's like,
Yeah, and then everybody's just got to back it out of there, like,
Mhm.
and I love that scene too, where she just takes charge. She takes the transport and just, she's hitting into things with it. She's never driven that thing before, but she's
Yeah.
capable. We
because
saw earlier that she's able to drive the
driving it as
loader.
fast as it can possibly go. That's the thing.
Yeah.
She's not like
Yeah.
going slow.
And she
then-
bashes through the wall in order to make an entrance, just so they can get into it.
Mhm.
And this is after they find Newt, because Newt was the person they find,
the lone survivor.
the lone survivor.
Is that after they find Newt or before?
No. So the scene like where they go into the
Oh yeah, it is.
That's after they find Newt.
Yeah, okay.
Because Crow, was it Crow? I think it was Crow. Like, almost is the one that like almost shoots her with the fucking like.
Yeah, well, they do shoot at her for a moment.
Yeah.
There, and then
they're gonna shoot at anything that fucking moves, which I don't
Yeah.
blame.
I don't blame them either. Yeah, and so what do you think about Newt? You like the character of Newt?
I do like Newt. I think she's a cool
do too.
character. And like she ends up like helping. It's not like she's not just like she's a young kid, but she's not like useless.
No, she knows the lay of the land here, and she survived by herself
For
for
6
how
months.
God knows how long. Yeah, a child, and she's she's fucking traumatized to for sure, but she's a survivor, just like Ripley.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's like a stand-in for Ripley's daughter, which I think works. I think Newt works better in the extended cut because we get that moment of like Ripley seeing her daughter as an older woman, like, and hearing about when she died. Like, that's all kind of breezed over a little bit in the regular version, and you're told about it. But I think it hits a little bit better that they took that moment to show Ripley, acknowledging her daughter's death, and then going on this mission, and then finding Newt and finding something new to care about.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for a female hero, I think it's really smart that they did add Newt, because for a man, like the man is gonna try and save everyone regardless, but I think for like especially for a female heroine, I think having a personal stake, in Newt, was just the extra motivation for Ripley to take more action.
Yeah, and I think thematically it works really good for the film because of she's like a surrogate mother at this point for Newt, and she's protecting her daughter in a sense or whatever.
Surrogate daughter,
yeah, and then we in parallel to the alien queen protecting its young. You know what I mean? And then when we get the final showdown later on, it's two like badass mothers basically going toe to toe.
Yeah.
Protecting, one's mad because her young was killed, and Ripley's trying to protect Newt at the end. And that's why I think that showdown hits even more in the very end, which is one of the best cinematic moments in history, in my opinion. When she comes out in the loader.
Yeah.
And just, utters, "Get away from her, you bitch." Like, it's so badass. But, yeah, I like when the Marines regroup. They get in, like, they're the Marines that survived, they haven't survived unscathed. Like, Hudson's got fucking acid burns all over him. We lost Drake at the very last moment so that they could get in there. Vasquez is dealing with that.
Because we don't get like a full like backstory on them, but that they if they were they're probably not just friends. Like, I think that there was some sort of like love interest.
And it just
and
it
even
goes
if they
beyond and it goes beyond like the kind of professional like respect that they had for each other as soldiers. So
they're also the heavy gunners in the party. It seems like they're the two guys that have the heavy guns, and like you could just tell, like, even if they weren't lovers necessarily, like they've worked together so long. This team wasn't just thrown together for this mission. Like,
right.
They've experienced shit before that they just work really well together. And so when you start losing them, we spend just a small time with them, but I think it's enough to establish.
Even those losses feel like, oh shit, we lost Drake.
When you lose Apon, you're like, oh shit, like I liked him a lot too.
The sergeant
he seemed like the natural leader that would have helped out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Come
and
on,
you lose
you
him.
want breakfast in bed?
Yeah, and I love that. Hudson becomes not Hudson. I'm sorry, Hicks becomes next in command basically,
Yeah.
and that
And he,
Ripley's like aware of that. You know,
and
she
he
brings
doesn't really want to be. He's just like,
no, but it takes.
he's like, oh yeah, I guess I am the next in
Yeah. I
command.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
He's just the next guy
But
in the totem pole.
and when he does come into next into command, who does he rely upon? The
Ripley.
knowledge that Ripley has, right? He listens to Ripley. He's not everybody. You know, like fucking the other lieutenant was just ignoring Ripley. She was
Right.
just literally supposed to be there to show them where to go, and that was it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that works really well.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that he knows that she's capable. When we get that like small scene like where they're loading everything up and like she ends up being in the loader, which is that's actually not an easy thing to use. And they're like, oh well, what can you do? It's like
Yeah, because she wants to help.
Yeah, so she helps them. It's like, okay, she's pretty capable there. And then when she like is kind of like in the APC kind of directing things, but then like it all goes to shit, and when Gorman like kind of loses his mind,
She saves their ass.
Yeah, Ripley saves their ass. So
Yeah.
So Hicks knows that like, okay, I know that like I got one person here that I know will, be as capable as me. Like, we can work together and, survive.
And the film does, like you said with that when you were talking about Twitter, it does a really good balance of never making it like a romantic relationship, but there's like the possibility is there, like in any other environment. Maybe they could have had something. They respect each other, and there is almost like a, hey, if we make it out of here alive, like, I'm gonna take you to dinner or something like that. Like, there's this mutual respect, but it's like, it's like sexually charged, like just a little bit. I feel like, in a sense, but it's never over. It's not heavy.
Yeah, it's not heavy-handed. It's not heavy-handed.
Yeah. If this film was made today, they would have kissed.
Yeah.
It was like,
I'm glad
why
they
are we
don't.
doing this? We're gonna die in 5 seconds. Just come
I'm so glad they don't. But I like that it's there. Like, our minds can go there if we want to, and fanfic it a little bit and be like, oh yeah, I bet, like, that's why I always hated Alien 3 about, like, spoilers, but they kill off Newt and fucking Hicks like they're nobodies, and they're not. They're huge characters.
Especially after the the success of like the comics that came out after this movie, and it's like you have the adventures of those guys together.
What they go through to survive in this one, and what Ripley goes through to save them, because she basically saves everybody. I mean, Hicks is fucking beat to shit by the end of this. Like, he's, it's Ripley that saves the fucking day, and Bishop too.
Yeah.
And then, like, to have them just killed off, like, randomly in the beginning of the next movie is just dumb to me.
But yeah, but like I said, I like the fact that like it's a romantic moment without it like overstepping that bound. Like it stays within the movie. Thank God.
Like when he's showing her how to use the plasma rifle and the option for it. There's that moment of like, he puts his arm around her. It's like, in any other environment, any other circumstances, it could be like more sexually charged, but it's just like the proper amount right now in this movie. I feel like that it never feels too far. He's not overstepping his bounds either. You know what I mean? And there's just like this mutual respect that I just feel like they're like, hey, I'm gonna lean on you, you're gonna lean on me because we want to make it out of here alive. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that a lot. They regroup, come up with a plan. Of course, Burke is like, oh, the plan is like, let's just nuke the shit out. Let's fly into orbit and nuke the shit out of this place and get the fuck out of here.
And
Which
Burke's
is
like, no.
No. But this is where Burke starts to show his colors. Like, well, actually, this has a very large dollar amount attached. Like, shut up,
money, man.
Like, shut up.
He's been
man.
saying it since they got there too. Remember, he's talking about like those what do? They turn everything into oxygen or something like that. They put the atmosphere. Yeah. And he's talking about those. Okay. Oh, we made those and blah blah blah. Those are made specifically. Yeah, it's like, bro, fuck this. We can't let these things off this planet. And everybody that's there at this compound, this mining colony, they're dead. So fuck everything,
Yeah. And what's saving? There's no saving any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we
They're
get to
lucky
see
they
Burke.
found one survivor.
Yeah. When we finally get to see Burke later show his true colors, it's horrible.
Mm.
When they set up in the what is it, the medical area
Mhm.
Yeah,
or the
well, because
science
initially
area.
Burke is making one last plea with Ripley. It's like, hey, like we we shouldn't wipe these things out. Like we can set ourselves up for life, dealing with that. But that Ripley had already looked into like the logs, like because like what she was probably like, what the hell happened? Like how did this happen? And she realized that Burke was the one that sent Newt's parents out to that ship.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like, there's 150 people, Burke. They're all dead because of you. And it's like, I'm gonna make sure that they nail your ass to the wall for this. And it's like, and she tries to plead with her, but it's like, no, you're going down for this, buddy.
Yeah, and so now Burke's like knows that he has to do something.
Yeah,
he
he
can't
has to
have
kill
her
her.
survive.
Yeah, and that is when her and Newt, end up like laying down, like taking a quick nap before they get out of there.
Yeah, and she places the plasma rifle above the
God,
cot, right? Because she leaves Newt sleeping on top of the cot, but when she comes back, Newt's under it because that's how she survived.
Right.
Yeah, she's not
Hidden,
comfortable
yeah.
sleeping out in the open. Like she's survived under everything in the tunnels.
which
in
is
the
also how
fucking
she survived
crawl
this
spaces.
situation too.
Yeah.
And Burke takes the gun, releases the two living face huggers.
Yeah.
And that dude, like, because they were already like, we don't really get like the scariness of the face huggers in Alien. Those fuckers like skittering across the
Yeah, their range of motion, and
Mhm.
I believe they were filmed in like reverse.
There was something like, the way that they filmed it was like,
I think they scurried them like away and then
Yeah.
shot it in reverse.
No, they
Like,
reversed it, yeah.
So some of the models used on these were they had special face huggers that did different things. You had the ones that were skittering across the floor. You had the ones that were built like to do like the tie the thing around the neck. You had the ones that were there to like explode. And the way that the Cameron also filmed the way that the aliens moved, because some of them were people in a bodysuit, which to be honest, I couldn't tell you which ones. Unlike in
the ones that come out of like around the corners and stuff, I feel like you could tell a little bit.
But like the way that he filmed them, like he would flip the camera a certain way, and like he would like reverse the shot, so it would, like the way that the aliens crawled and moved seems so like weird and ethereal. Like, it's just like, man, how are you doing that? It's all camera tricks, and that's kind of like what they do.
In camera tricks, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it looks great, and yeah, like so they had certain face huggers that could like skitter across the floor. It's all like little camera.
That face hugger scene is awesome though. Like it's intense because it's just her and Newt and they're trapped.
Dude, it's so
she's trying to figure out a way. Break the glass, and she tries to break the glass. She can't break the glass. She's waving to the cameras.
Yeah, and then
trying to get some of
the reveal. Then
he turns the monitor off.
Turns off that camera.
What a dick.
Yeah.
And then Ripley. That's what I love about Ripley. She's so capable. She figures out the suppression system, the fire suppression system. She activates that with the lighter.
And it also, like, that's set up, too, because, it's like, well, where the hell did she get a lighter? Well, we see her smoking in, like, the first part of the film, like, after, like, one of her nightmares. With that super... I don't know how they did this. That cigarette ash, like, was super long. Like, it just, like, hung there. I thought that was...
Yeah, it was almost as long as Shelley Duvall's in fucking...
Shining, yeah.
Shining.
Right. But, yeah, so it sets it up. And then it's like, oh, yeah, she has the lighter. And then, like, it sets up the fire, and it's like, that's how they, they survive.
That's why that's how the Hicks realizes what's going on, that, the alarms go off, so.
You're dog meat, pal.
And I love that scene, the way it plays out, where, like, they shoot the glass, and he like, jumps through it at the same, moment that they shot the glass, so, like, weaken it, and then his body goes through it. And then the way they, like, Newt's really good. Like she pushes the card against one of the face huggers and has it like against the wall for a moment.
Yeah, said she's not useless at all. Like
no, not at all.
I know she's scared. Like she's not useless.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why I like her as a character. Like some people are like kind of like make fun of her a little bit. I was like, there's why, like she's great.
I like her. She's like a garbage kid. Like
Garbage pail
she's
kid.
like a dirty little kid. She's like, I don't know. She's tough, and she's like the sole survivor of this whole colony.
Of all the people that can survive from the colony, it's like a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, and her whole family's gone. Like she has nothing to live for except for just survival. And she's managed to like scavenge rations, and this she's surrounded by these aliens, and she still managed to like avoid them.
Yeah.
I think she's really capable.
And so what we get there is like we get the reveal from like Burke's plan of like what was being planned, of like how he was gonna have Newt and Ripley being carrying the embryos of the xenomorph within them and put them in the freezer pods, and then sabotage the. And it's like, well, we would know. It's like, well, yeah, he was gonna have to sabotage your freezer pods on the way home. It's like, oh, you're dog meat, pal.
Yeah.
Dude, Hudson.
And he's still trying to play it off like he didn't do anything.
Like, no, it's like, and
he's such a piece of shit at this moment.
Yeah,
like, it's like, yeah, you're a fucking piece of shit, bro.
Yeah, and it's funny because we just come off of like I think just before this was Beverly Hills Cop, and like you like Paul Reiser in that movie, like he's fun, but like this one is, man, he is a dick.
Yeah. Then we get their stand, right? The
this
sentry guns.
To me is one of the coolest part of the movie. I get chills every time I watch this act in the movie of them like taking that stand. Like we have the sentry guns, so they figure out like, okay, we need to block out this and this. We figure out that like the whole the thing is gonna the planet's gonna explode essentially, and they need to get
Bishop realizes that it's overheating.
Yeah, and that was after, because when the xenomorphs wrecked the ship that they had, and it blew up in like one of the terraformer towers, it fucked all that.
That scene's awesome too. When they think they're getting picked up.
Yes.
We skipped on the ship's like coming in, but they had landed and one of the xenomorphs conveniently got on.
Yeah.
Which is very convenient, but it's still good for the scene. And the ship's coming in, and they notice something's off. Like it's the trajectory that it's coming in is off. Like it's not. No.
Like
And then it crashes, and we just get this huge like fireball.
Yeah, and that's what causes like the thing to start to overheat and like having to vent, and it's on a meltdown essentially.
Yeah, which essentially is going to be the nuke that they were talking about doing anyway. So like.
Oh yeah.
It'll blow up to the size of like a huge nuke anyway, so it's gonna.
It's like the size of Nebraska, It's like Jesus.
And then they try to figure out like, well, how can we get back to the main ship? And then that's when they figure out, or it was Bishop that figures out that he could remote.
The only way they could do it is through like a remote thing. They have to change the trajectory of the satellite dish to do that.
Satellite dish, yeah.
It's like. It's like, you mean go out there with those things out? You can count me out. It's like, hang out of everything, huh?
Yeah. I like that. Like Hudson, he's there, but at the same time, like any moment now, he might just crawl into a ball. But you know what? Like Hicks keeps him in line. Like, no, you're a Marine, bro. You're gonna keep fucking fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I love his character. Yeah, because he was the audience. He responded the way that we would have responded.
Yeah, it's like, and when the ship crashes, it's like, game over, man. Game over, man.
Just the despondency, just like realizing how screwed that they really were.
Yeah, we're screwed. But yeah, and so they send Bishop out. I like that Vasquez or someone, they give him a gun, right? And he just gives it back. Like, like what am I gonna do with a pistol?
Right.
Yeah.
Like as long as I get to where I gotta go, like I'll get it done. Like.
Yeah.
And it's like that tube that he's got to crawl through. He's going to be there for like 3 hours crawling through
a tube like that. And it's like that. Every time I watch that scene, I get claustrophobic. Like it's like I would fucking suffocate in that thing.
Seriously.
And he's pushing like the computer module that he's going to be taking with him. He's like pushing it ahead of him. the whole
Dude,
time.
I wonder if Steven Spielberg like took inspiration from that scene for the Jurassic Park. You know, when Samuel Jackson's character goes to like, you know, reboot
Oh,
the park or
I
whatever.
didn't think about that.
Because
Maybe.
because you know, just rewatching it again, Aliens, Aliens. I just couldn't help but like get like that same kind of
I think
vibe.
that scene's in the book, though.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I
Mm.
can't. It's been a long time since I read the book.
Like,
Oh, maybe they got it inspiration from Michael Crichton then.
Yeah.
Who I didn't know was a director, by the way, because he did the original
Andromeda Strain,
movie.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
But
So Bishop. So one thing I do like about this film that I don't think a lot of people know, but when Bishop lands the second gunship, at
Mm.
that point, Ripley asks him how much time, meaning how much time till the core explodes,
Mm.
and he says plenty of time, 26 minutes. That's exactly how much time is left in the film at that point.
yeah, that you told me
Wow.
that, like, and I had to like, it's like, really, and I had
Yeah,
to,
so if you time it from that scene, that's exactly how much
And
time is left in the actual
I
movie.
paused it at that moment, and I looked as like, holy shit, it's right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little detail.
Mm.
which is kind of reminded me of like, kind of like that Metroid moment, because every time you kill Mother Brain, or like, kind of like, there's always like a countdown, and it's like, it kind of reminded. I'm sure that's where the designers of that game got that from.
Yeah, and it mirrors the urgency too as well from like the end of the first movie.
Right.
And I could see like, oh, okay, so this movie does borrow some of that, but that shit works. I don't know, that countdown in the first film is intense,
Mhm.
and she's trying to like stop it
Right.
at that point in the first movie, and in this one it's like it just works perfectly too. Like the countdown once it begins.
But that's what makes,
I skipped ahead a little bit, but we were still talking about the sentry guns. But
yeah, but like that's what like makes like, the whole thing like so like tense, because there is a time limit. They know that we have to get off of this place, by
before
a
the
certain
core
time.
explodes, yeah.
And so it's like, okay, Bishop has to do these things. It's, oh shit, like, okay,
And then we
so-
need to do this here.
right, but we need to stop the aliens from attacking us so that we survive. So to buy Bishop enough time to have somebody to rescue, and then
Yeah.
like that whole scene where like they shut down the power, like, the guns go off. It's like, okay, it looks like it worked, and then it's like they all start to converge, and it's like, oh, like the whole like this whole group of them.
That's
And-
how they figure out like how much they're overwhelmed. Like there's no way they can't take out all these fucking aliens. There's just too many.
The guns took out how many aliens?
Yeah.
Like 100?
Like 300 rounds or something like that in each, or like
100
1,000 rounds or something.
Mm.
And I love that scene too because you just get glimpses from the gunfire of like these aliens scurrying down the hallways.
Right.
You
Flashes
hear
from the muzzle.
because
Yeah.
you hear them being
Yeah.
hit, and you like, it's all like, because all the acid blood that's like being sprayed everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like they're killing a whole bunch of them. And it's like, and it's still like.
And Hudson's doing the countdown. He's like 200 in A, 300 in C or whatever. Like, and
Yeah.
you're just like, holy, they're running out of ammo, and there's still more aliens coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't expect it be that many, and it's fuck.
And I just don't understand why they even cut that scene. To be honest, like there's so much tension there. I think
that's so. To me,
in
it's
the theatrical one. They cut that scene.
Yeah, that scene's not even in it. And I feel like it just shows how like outnumbered they are too. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like your only option is get the fuck out of there. Really, like that's it. You're not gonna kill everything.
Yeah.
But that scene, like where, like they're getting closer. 25, 20, 15, 10. Shit, they're inside the barrier.
Yeah, they're right on top of us.
It's like 5 feet. It's like they're right on top of us, man. Where are they? It's like, well, you're not reading it right, and like they're all getting pissed off at each other. It's like, no, I am. Like, it's a clean signal.
Yeah.
And then you just see.
That's the one thing they didn't think about.
Yeah. And then you see Ripley go, and then like as the audience, because like you're not thinking like where are they, and then you just look up. It's like, oh shit, they're on the.
You also don't think that you're not aware of how smart the aliens are. Like,
yeah, this is the first time we see like, oh, they're smart.
I like that. Like I forget who it was, but who pokes their head up there? Hicks.
That was Hicks.
Yeah, and you just see like aliens everywhere, like hey peekaboo, like
Yeah. Oh shit. And then they just start shooting, and all fucking hell breaks loose, and that's.
I love that scene too. I love the sound effects of the plasma rifles, the way they sound, like.
Yeah.
And they're just hitting them as they fly over them, and and I feel like the aliens seem indestructible in the first film because it's just the one, right? And then like he's killing everybody, but they don't have firepower like
exactly.
this.
They didn't have any guns.
So like you see a lot of aliens, they do die a lot in this film, like because the Marines do have good firepower. Like you can take an alien out with several rounds of plasma rifle, but still, like even at close range, you get any of that blood on you, you're fucking toast. So
yeah, and it's like like I said, but even then, like it's just like they have an overwhelming force that they have to overcome, and it's too much.
Yeah, they back out.
They also don't have enough ammunition either. Like they're running low on ammo.
Yep.
And the thing, it's like this scene gets me every time. I get chills every time I watch this scene because like they're doing that, and this to me is like where Hudson really kind of redeems himself, because man, does he go down swinging. Like it's like, you want some? Oh, I'll give you some. Oh, yeah, how about you? And it's like it's dragged down like and it's like, even though he's being dragged down and like, ripped to shreds, he's still shooting. He's still going. He's going down swinging, which is like, damn. Hudson, like, and it's like that's what makes it hurt so much. Like, fuck, not Hudson.
Yeah,
we all love Hudson. Like
we do. And then Burke fucking double crosses again.
Yeah,
he tries to seal the door. Well, he does, and they have to cut through it. Yeah, I love that whole plasma cutter sort of like deal where they're cutting through the lock in order to get through this one door, and then they have to seal the next door again once they're through it.
Yeah, it's like, whatever you're gonna do it now.
Yeah, it's so tense, like that with the music and the
score,
the way the film's shot.
By the way, that score by James Horner, it was done in a day.
What?
Wow.
He did it in a day. So
it's so good, especially the countdown. Once the countdown starts.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So Cameron was working, like he had hired James Horner to do the score, which is smart, because James Horner is really good. They were supposed to have been wrapped, and like it was going to give James Horner 6 weeks. They ended up taking an extra 6 weeks, and so he's like, well, the movie's coming out. Like, what? Like, I need something to score. I have nothing. And Cameron essentially like left him with like 24 hours to do the fucking score, and which is like the fact that we got the great score that we did. It's fucking brilliant.
The fact that this movie is as good as it is, it's like it should have never happened.
It should be horrible.
This should have been the biggest flop ever, to be honest. If you know anything about the production woes and just that in general, like 24 hours to put this, like just that the score of just like Ripley when the countdown starts. Like I said with Bishop, and then you have the 26 minutes. Like the score there is just so intense. It's like dun 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 dun. It's just so.
Scene score is awesome too.
Bro, I love it.
And James Horner vowed to never work with James Cameron again. Yeah. But I think he did didn't he do Titanic?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like they worked something out, but it's just like, yeah, that shows the brilliance of James Horner as a musician to be able to come up with like one of the greatest scores of all time.
That's a lot of pressure, though.
It is. I was like, he had 24 hours. Essentially, like it was probably like a little bit more than that, but like, still, you need like these composers need like weeks at least. It was
probably like 24 hours to just get something together, like an idea of what
rough
it's gonna
idea,
be.
Yeah.
And then maybe had a little bit longer to actually like refine it a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just 24 hours to put the whole thing together. Who knows? That's even more impressive. And we get to see Burke's. We don't see his actual demise. Like we see, like the alien takes him out. We don't see. Yeah, but I think this is like one of the first times where we really get like a good look at like the second mouth coming out of the alien, or like that goo coming off of it. It's like it looks like KY jelly. like lube.
Well, I believe that is what it is. And
Yeah,
it's
right?
like
I think
it's
so.
like a liquefied version of that because like
Yeah.
it's dripping off of them. It's fucking
Mhm.
gross. It's
And I
great.
feel like the first film established that a little bit, but this film really like shows how the aliens extended maw like works.
Right. Yeah.
At
Again,
least, at least
James.
in this one, it made sense like why everything's like dripping wet because they actually are like they're terraforming the place. It's raining, and there's
Yeah.
a bunch of holes in the roof. Unlike in Alien, it's like why is everything wet?
Like
It just
yeah,
looks
the scene in
cinematic.
like with the chains dripping. Well,
Yeah,
it's wet because they're in like the area where like maybe there's heat and like the
thank you.
you know
That is exactly what I said.
yeah. So there's yeah, there's just a lot of perspiration and
Right. I mean, yeah, and that's a completely but I know that really it's because because Ridley Scott even came out and said it. It's like because it looks better on camera.
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It's like it's and otherwise it would just be like dry surfaces and it would look I don't know, it looks more organic. I feel like when you add that moisture to it too, you know what I mean? Like it looks
It
like a
just looks
living
better on
world.
camera. That's what. That's why
Yeah.
that's why when you watch like TV shows, like the scene is like out on the street and like
Yeah, they spray the street
they
down.
spray down because it just looks better.
It just looks good because you get cool reflections, and when you
Mhm.
have like good lighting, the
Mhm.
lighting looks even better. Like neon and stuff like that. Like you take
Exactly.
like a movie like Blade Runner, right? Which is
Mhm.
also Ridley Scott. It's drenched in rain the entire
Yeah.
fucking time, right?
Yeah.
And so it does look better because you get all that neon reflection on the street.
Yeah. You get a light.
Um,
Yeah. You get a lot of interesting effects through the
yeah.
lights. Yeah.
So they make it out of that situation barely,
Mhm.
and because of Newt, right?
Because I knew.
Because of Newt. She teaches them, oh, we can go this way. We'll go down here, and then she gets separated.
Mhm.
She falls down that area, or whatever, and then the
Yeah. The
alien
air
comes,
shaft.
takes her.
Because of the because Vasquez is kind of the one that is kind of
Oh yeah.
kind of protecting their ass as they're trying to get out of there.
Hmm.
She runs out of ammunition, and then
She
it's like
gets
she gets
her leg
overwhelmed.
burned.
Mhm.
Right.
She
And
shoots
you
over
actually told me
close.
too that like that scene like where she's shooting
It
the
was
alien.
Gail Ann Hurd, the
That is
producer of the film.
that's
Yeah.
right.
She was the actress who played Vasquez was not as familiar with firearms in that area, like close or as comfortable, and Gail Ann Hurd was. And so yeah, she's the stand-in for that scene. She's the one wearing the boot, pushing on the alien's head using the fucking sidearm.
Yeah, it's like it's
It
because
was pretty badass.
until you told me that I had never thought about it. Like I was like, oh yeah, it's just Vasquez doing it. It's the actress. But then I was like, you see those cuts, and I was like, oh yeah, okay.
I guess because that's a real world sidearm. You know what I mean? Like it's a real pistol,
Yeah,
as opposed to like the heavy gun that she had, like we said,
Right.
was
Right.
just
Right.
right.
you
Or
know,
the,
a
or the
camera,
plasma they
steady
have.
cam or whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah, so she's the stand-in for that, and that seems dope because we even get to see where what's his name redeems himself a little bit,
Yeah.
the
yeah.
lieutenant.
Yeah, like I said, all outside of Burke, because Burke, there's no redeeming that guy, but
Yeah,
all the characters that are like kind of like stupid and like kind of like you would say is maybe a pain in the ass, they all redeem themselves. Hudson
Yeah.
goes down swinging.
Mm-hmm.
Gorman's like I fucked up earlier and I got like a lot of our men killed, but you
But
know
he
what?
kills
Like,
himself
but
with the bomb.
we're gonna go down together. I'm
He
not
uses
gonna
the
let you die
thermal detonator.
alone. In a lot of ways, because if you think about it, because of Gorman's mistake, a lot of her friends died alone. They didn't have like they didn't die together.
Mhm.
Gorman
Yeah.
it's like I'm not gonna let you die alone.
Yeah, and they hold
They
the
hold
closer
hands.
together. Like I kind of like that.
What's word, asshole, Gorman?
Yeah,
But it's like, but you know what? Like I think she like realized that hey, you know what? This guy's all right.
yeah.
And
It
it's
was
like
that's almost like another scene that's sort of like almost like romantically charged in a sense, or just like I don't know. It's got like there's an intimacy to it. I guess. I would say.
That's a good word. That's a good way of putting it. There's an intimacy.
Yeah.
The intimacy.
Yeah, like it's not necessarily like like we're into each other, but
well, I
there's
think
like
that's
that
like it's
mutual respect at that moment.
It's like a brother and sister.
Yeah, and the way they hold hands is just
Yeah.
like I don't know. I just like it.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
intimacy.
Yeah, I think intimacy is a better description of
family.
that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I dig it. It works really good for that scene.
And that explosion that they create is what causes Newt to fall into the slide.
Yeah.
By the way,
The water wheel.
yeah, the actress who plays Newt, she purposely fucked up a few of those takes so she could keep going down the slide.
Really? Oh, she liked that.
Fun.
That's funny.
Yeah, it wasn't like there were like a few takes where like you could hear like her squealing with delight.
Like, laughing, she's like, hey, yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like simultaneously while that's happening, we get Bishop. He's realigned the satellite. He's remote controlled the ship to come back from their the main
from the
ship.
mothership, yeah.
ETA 16 minutes.
Yeah. So he's coming in. Yeah, he's just out there like fucking in the elements,
Mm-hmm.
Thank God, like that's the perfect job for a synthetic to go out there though.
Right.
And then he's out there doing his thing. You don't quite know whether he's gonna pull it off, So you just like, and that the tension in this part of the movie, like this part of the movie's been like,
because we still don't know if he's on our side yet.
Yeah, and this part of the movie's been very action packed, as far as like, just like action movie type sci-fi. Yeah. And then like this is where I feel like a lot of the horror elements of it start creeping in a little bit more, of like the tension of like, well, we lost Newt, we have to find Newt. Like even Hicks agrees, like, all right, we'll find her, but we need to get out of here now.
Right.
And then we'll figure out how to get to her. Because she says she still has time. We can still save her. Yeah. You don't understand. They don't kill you right away. They don't kill you. They won't kill you. So, but Hicks gets so fucked up that he can't really help her.
It ends up blasting through because an alien kind of gets into that elevator. He shoots, but it kind of blasts through his that acid goes through his.
He grills back. Ugh.
Yeah, and ends up fucking up his eye and
I love that scene too.
Well, he keeps on going.
I like how Ripley talks to him too. Like she's like, "Come on, Marine."
Yeah. Get your ass moving. Yeah.
Like using the type of language that he'll respond to. You know what I mean? To get through to him. And then, so Ripley's gonna go back for Newt, right? She's got the tracker. She knows where Newt is.
Oh, dude, I love the super gun that she creates with the
flame. So she MacGyver's it's a plasma rifle tracker with the flamethrower combo, and she just sets off to save Newt. And there's this moment where she says
grabs all the grenades and shit too.
Yeah, and yes, she's got the detonators. She takes those, the flamethrower. She basically tapes the guns together and puts the tracker on the top so she can keep an eye on it. And it's just so badass. And then she says goodbye to Hicks, and they exchange first names.
Yeah,
which they hadn't at that point. Well, it's just pretty cool.
I also like the fact where she's like, "We're not leaving. We're not."
Yeah. And then, so the tonal, the structure of the film changes a little bit. There tonally, I feel like. And it just becomes really tense and desperate. We get that 26-minute timer, and then we said, the musical score is just kicks up at that point.
Now, is that the countdown voice? Is that the same actress that did the voice from the first one?
I don't know. It sounds similar.
It sounds like her, right?
I love it. It just kicks in at the best moments in the film. So it's kicking in. So. I just love this scene. Ripley, she's in the elevator. Yeah. When she's going down.
Spinning into fucking hell.
The timer's going off, and she's getting prepared, and she's suited up, and then there's the doors open, and it's just it's on. She leans down, she gets the gun ready, she puts the fucking shit over her shoulder, she situates, she's and she's just there, you see the flame on the flamethrower just going. And then the door opens up, and you just get that strobe light, the blue light, and the lighting, and you just hear the countdown, boom, boom, and 26 minutes, blah blah, whatever.
You have 26 minutes to safe distance.
Yeah, it just works so perfectly, and she's just ready to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And she's she does little flares to her breadcrumbs. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah, to light her way, which is really smart. That's what I love about Ripley. There's these real world elements to it where okay, this establishes how she does this, how she does that. It's not just action movie bullshit where it's like, oh well, she's just meant to. Like, no, she does it because she's smart.
All the things are set up to be paid off later, and like, opposed to as opposed to just they do it because the plot requires them to do so.
Yeah, and it's not like plot armor, like bullshit, like narrative. Like it's just like, yeah, she's gonna get back here because she thought about it. Her character's actually smart enough to think about how to do this. She's a survivor. This is what she does. You know what I mean? She's not a Marine, but she's smart. She's a fast learner, and she's highly capable. And she's looking after her. It's like she's protecting her young at this point, which I love when we get this final encounter with her and the Queen.
Oh, dude! Like, so you think that like, oh, so she finds the tracker. The tracker is like in the in some goo, slimy goo.
Yeah.
But then she hears like, because Newt wakes up and it's like, she screams because she sees like the egg starting to open, and it's like, oh, thank God! And like, so she runs towards the scream, it kind of snaps her out of it, and she fucks up the egg, thank God, and then she breaks Newt out of that thing, and so that scene like where she's like ripping off like all the stuff, so that's some sort of like weird like silica gel glass thing. Sigourney Weaver cut her hand up really bad on that.
Oh wow!
She actually sliced her hand open pretty good on that thing, from what I understood, because it actually was pretty sharp.
Right. It looked like it was like kind of like a harder kind of plastic.
Like a resin plastic thing. Like it's
so if it had like an edge to it, like you could cut yourself on like paper or like sharp cardboard.
Exactly.
So I could see something like that.
But yeah, so she rips Newt out of that thing. And there's actually points of like where when she's carrying Newt, it's actually not the actress. It's like
you can see that.
Yeah, it's a doll. Yeah.
I guess honestly, like maybe I'm blind or whatever. Like I understand. Like I know when that's happening, but it's like, man, it looks really good because I
think at the time it probably looked great, but as time's gone by and we've got HD versions of the film and like 4K, you can see mistakes a little bit better now. Through different resolutions.
I guess maybe I'm not looking for it. I'm too invested.
Yeah, no, you are because of the music, the atmosphere, the fog effects, the like the lighting, the darkness. Like they hide a lot of the practical blemishes.
They hide the
like
imperfections.
The guys in suits. There's a moment where I saw like a PVC pipe, I think, with the Queen. There's like a moment where her back is
like
a little. You can see something where you could tell people are like moving her around. Like it's very small. But I noticed it last time.
But yeah, then like obviously they're trying to escape, and then she runs into
that's
all the fucking eggs. Yeah, it took 15 people to run that thing.
Yeah, jeez. And some of those guys were like under the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are people doing remote fucking stuff,
and they did a great fucking job. Let me tell you, like
they're all coordinating together
for a movie that's almost 40 years old.
That thing is intimidating as fuck, and we haven't seen a variation like that yet in this film, in this film franchise. You know what I mean? I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and then huge. Oh, dude, but that fucking thorax thing is so gross.
Oh, the goo that's in it too.
And dude, it blows it up. So I'm a huge fan of Futurama. I kept thinking of like the Slurm.
Oh yeah.
Which they probably took inspiration from this.
Oh, of course,
yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Cinematic archaeology, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just love like how insect-like it is, like that egg sac,
Yeah. Oh God. And then she starts like so you get the stare down between those two, and it's like where the drones start to come in. It's like
she communicates with it,
and she blasts like the fire, so because they don't like it, and then she points it at the egg.
Yeah, and she waves it over the eggs, right? And points it at it.
And that's where it's like, okay, we're at a stare down. You stay there. I'm gonna leave. We're gonna be.
Yep. And the drones back off as if the Queen, because the Queen looks at them like, let her go.
Yeah, but then one of the eggs starts to open, and it's like, and you get that head cock from Ripley. It's like, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, fuck this. She flames it. She fucking throws the detonators, and she fucking shoots all the grenades into the egg sack.
If you think about it, this is like the greatest cat fight in cinema history.
I love it. And you know what? You know what really does make Ripley work so well? It's not just the character. It's Sigourney Weaver.
Dude, Sigourney Weaver
Yeah,
is
so
fucking.
Sigourney Weaver, she sells it.
Like this is her. You know what I mean? Like she is a competent, fucking strong woman. Like it's not just acting.
She's one of my favorite actresses. She's
Yeah, like this is her putting her fucking self into this character. Like she built this character.
Yeah, and it's
And
just
yeah,
like,
this scene is epic.
and it's like, "Brah!" Like, and like, then she starts like blasting the grenade launchers into the thorax. Oh,
So
bleh.
gross looking.
God,
It's like when you squish a big bug, like a water bug or something.
Yeah. And all the pus
comes
comes
out
out.
of
like a million.
the
It's
tail,
so
yeah.
disgusting.
And then the queen rips apart from it, like
Oh,
detaches
yeah.
from it, and like
Oh,
lands on the
ugh.
ground.
I wonder
Or,
if
like,
like
oh,
that them like ripping the thorax part of that out, like, because that looks like it was a real thing. Like
Yeah,
they just
practical.
tore that thing
Yeah.
off.
And that seems like one of those moments where like, okay, we need to
We
nail
have
this
to
because
get
this
right.
is the only chance we're gonna get at this. Like
Yeah,
once we break this thing, it's like we can't just reattach it and have it
Yeah.
look good again. Like,
Mhm.
and so that's why I don't mind if I see a seam here or there in that scene because there's so many moving parts, like we said, that like this is 1986 that this film came out. They filmed it in what 84 or like
probably.
Yeah, something
this
like
is
that.
1984. They're pulling it. This is before CGI. Like
Yeah,
it's
Like,
all
it's-
practical effects and in-camera tricks. Like
it looks
amazing.
fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get that. We think that like the queen starts to like come after them. They took off like all the drones. She shoots up the drones. She fucks up all the eggs. She like destroys the thorax with all the so they can't lay any more
She's
eggs.
running out of ammo. We see the
But
counter.
she's out.
Yeah.
And like even
Got
the
the flamethrower still.
went out. And then like all she does, she throws the all the grenades into the fire so that they explode.
Uh-huh.
She hauls ass with Newt to the elevators, and even that scene too. It's like where like the elevator isn't coming down. It's like, come on, god damn it!
Yeah.
Feel that? Like I'm like, yeah, come on, hurry up.
And then so when she left, right, she told Bishop like, "Stay around here. I'm gonna be back."
Yeah.
Right, and he was. And then she's waiting for the elevator. She gets on the elevator, which is intense. I love the moment. It's kind of dumb when you think about it, though, but it's fun. Like, so the queen comes and she waits for her own elevator and then gets on one.
Right.
So Ripley hit both elevators because she's
I know she does.
out of there.
But it's just funny just thinking of the queen like.
I know, just waiting.
Like, waiting for the next elevator. Like,
keep pressing the buttons. Like, come on.
Yeah, come on already. You know what I mean? And then she gets in the elevator. Oh, I gotta duck my head around.
Yeah, duck my head down.
Like she's huge.
Yeah.
And how did she activate the elevator to go back up? Like I don't know. It automatically go up once you step in it, or does she have to press the button?
That's a good question. Well, so no, I don't think
does
so.
Does she press all the buttons and it stops at every floor?
But I wonder because why would the elevator go all the way back up? Because it should have stayed.
She's the most intelligent.
Should have been on the first floor to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think it automatically went up anyways.
An elevator that only goes from the sub basement all the way to the top.
It's the
only spots that it goes.
Yeah, there are no other floors. It's just top and then bottom.
It works for the film though. Like if you
it does. You buy it, but it's like when you actually think it's like, well, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. I would have loved to see instead that like she took the stairs and she's just like, oh god, she's going up like 47 flights of stairs. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
I want that parody film.
I know, right?
Like she's just literally giving birth to like 150,000 fucking like
aliens. Yeah.
She's fucking so tired. She's like a pregnant mom. She's like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding. I need a snack.
Need
going up the steps. She's sweating. Oh god, sweating like KY jelly. Oh my god.
Oh, Mondays.
But yeah, she gets up there. Ridley gets up there, and Bishop's nowhere to be seen.
Like, and then you find, and everyone thinks like, oh, that fucking synth.
Yeah, and so she thinks like it's like because we have kind of like bought into Bishop being the good guy, and it's like you betrayed us, you motherfucker.
Yeah,
you know?
Again, just like the first film, you fucking dick.
Yeah,
like and then like we're like, oh my god, like she gets up there and like you could tell like nowadays it looks dated a little bit, the fire effects, but it still looks great. Like everything's falling apart. The whole place is about to blow any moment now. And the Queen comes out of the elevator, and Ripley says to Newt, "Close your eyes."
Yeah.
Like, because we're gonna die. So you're gonna get torn apart by this fucking alien right now, and I don't want you to look. Just don't look at it. Like we're gonna die. And then Bishop flies up out of the blue and saves the fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and it's like, oh, thank fucking God.
And Ripley gets on.
There's still, it's a tense scene because they had to haul ass out of there.
But he had the landing gear out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what the
what
alien was able to grab onto.
Yeah.
Which is like, the Queen's huge. How does she grab onto this landing gear? Hide inside of it. It's fine. It doesn't bother me that much.
We
do buy it. We're so wrapped up in this scene. We're wrapped up in the sound effects. We're wrapped up in the score. We're wrapped up in the tension of, the action and the suspense and the destruction. So it's like, in the moment, you're just in, like, this film has a way, even when you know what's coming, it gets you in that moment. And that's what makes it so good to me, is like, you're just wrapped up in it. Like, you're here for it, and you're in the seat with Ripley, and you're just like, oh my God. Like, I know that they're going to make it every time, but at that moment, I'm like, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. Like,
we're fucked.
But I know they are, but still, I feel like, oh, you're fucked. You're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had to haul ass out of Dodge.
And we get that safe ending where, like, we're like, oh shit, they get out of there.
Yeah, we finally breathe again.
Yeah, and we get the dun 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 dun, and they fly away as the bomb goes off, and it's like,
it gets me every fucking time. I'm like, I'm on the
edge. They get out of there. The music's so good.
And then, like, they make it up to, like, the main ship, and you're like, oh, thank.
And she thanks Bishop, right?
Yeah.
Like, she has respect for this synthetic.
Yeah. And
she's
overcome her trauma of the synthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
came through. He pulled through. He saved her and Hicks, and fucking, he bandaged Hicks up and everything. So, like, Hicks is, like, sedated.
Yeah.
So he's, like, not able to help out at all. Like, he's just out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just Ripley and this fucking synthetic.
Yeah, and it's like they start to, like, kind of, like, get stuff together so they can get out of town. And then you're like, what? And then, oh shit! And then you see, like, it looks like it's like something like a chest burster coming out of them, and it's like, what the hell? And, like, then you see that giant tail is like, get the fuck out of here!
Like, whoa!
Yeah.
Even though he's not like a real human, you still feel in that moment for him.
So here's the thing, like, so that thing, all the shit that's coming out of his mouth and all that. That is, like, some sort of weird, like, milk yogurt mixture thing that they had. And they left, it was buckets of this shit that's, like, laying around the set. Well, it all went bad.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Lance Henriksen got the worst food poisoning of all time. And he kept having to put this shit in his mouth, like, as they're doing these scenes. And it's still rancid and bad. Oh God! And it's like now that I know that, I'm like, oh dude,
those are the moments where you're like, oh, being a movie star is, like, sensational. It's
so
great.
Glamorous.
Especially back then, it wasn't.
No, he got real sick.
He probably got botulism.
And from what I know about his, like, he's a dedicated actor. Like, he literally he throws himself into a character. He creates a lot of, like, the nuances of that character sometimes on his own. So. Right. Yeah, and, like, because I remember from learning stuff about Pumpkinhead when we covered Pumpkinhead at A Cut Above, there was moments like, there were, like, these coins that he had that he paid off the witch in that movie, and, like, those were coins that he collected as an actor. Like, I don't think the scene even called for it. He did that. He found these old coins.
Yeah, I remember you talking about.
They got lost on set, and supposedly they were so, like, under the house the entire time, like, in that spot where they filmed. They're still there supposedly.
Oh wow!
Like, these old collectible coins that could be worth a lot of money nowadays, but.
Oh wow!
That was just, like, one of the small things that he did to just flesh out that character. So. I could see him being like, yeah, fuck it, I'll put some rancid yogurt milk in my mouth, but yeah.
Man.
But that scene's so powerful when the alien lifts him up. The look on Ripley's face too.
is like,
Right.
oh shit,
They're crushed. They're like, oh my god, we're dead.
we're fucked.
And the alien rips him apart, like, and just throws his fucking body in 2 different directions. I love it.
Yeah. You know, I was glad to see this time around that we didn't have the anal beads like we saw in Ash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's the Benoit beads, the Benoit balls. Is that what those were? Because that's what they look like.
I can't think of anything else that they could have been.
I'm assuming those are supposed to be like neurons or electrodes or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They look like, yeah. It didn't all make sense. But yeah, he's got like intestine tubes coming out. Like,
yeah. I was like, okay, I can buy this.
And he's got an actual torso, and it's gross though. It's still like, even though he's synthetic, it still looks, it's gory.
Yeah, it's scary.
And he's got the milk coming out of his mouth, and he's fucking.
Yeah. And then
we get the best showdown ever.
Dude, and this is where like she's like,
Indeed.
Newt, run.
Yeah, run.
And it's like, so she dives under, like, well, she dives in what
calls the fucking
yeah
queen's attention. Like, I'm the one you want.
Here,
Yeah, I killed your babies. Come after me.
Yeah, Newt does what she does best. She crawls in like the little tunnels.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, but then you also get like where Ripley like runs off into like the another room. It's like, did she just abandon Newt? It's like, which we're like, and then you forget, it's like, oh yeah, like the loaders, like, and this is where.
Yeah, I can see like when the first time viewing, like you didn't know this was coming.
Yeah, and you forget that they're there, and like that when that door opens up and you just have like the flashing light going around, it's like, oh shit, shit's about.
And we get one of the best lines in a movie, in my opinion, ever.
It's like,
it's like,
bitch.
Yeah.
Get away. Yeah, just the delivery.
Yeah, even just that shot of like the reveal of her in the loader and like the flashing light stuff.
Caution lights.
Dude, that's like now like that's become like a trope in like a lot of science fiction movies and action movies.
Have you ever played the arcade game?
A long time ago. With the shit with the light guns that you pick up.
No, there is a like a 2D kind of like.
Side scroller.
Yeah, they have the
loader thing.
Yeah,
you do have that fight. I've also played Alien. Isolation.
Yeah, I haven't played that yet, but I've heard that game.
That game's scary, bro.
Yeah,
You can hide from the alien. The alien has like really pretty cool AI. The way it can travel through like the ducts and stuff like that. You play Ripley's daughter.
Oh, okay. I can only imagine, like, because I think like how they have it set up too, like where you have to hold your controller very still, because if you shake it too much, like, because if you're, the alien will notice you.
I played that game originally on the Xbox One, and I had the Kinect at the time, and there was Kinect support, so it could pick up your noise. If you were too loud while playing the game, the alien would hear you. Like if you're hiding, you could use the Kinect would see how your movements in real life. So I could lean like this when I'm playing the game, and my character would lean and look to the left a little bit. So when I'm hiding in a locker, I could like peek through the vents in the locker and like look, and you'd see the alien like looking for you, and then like the alien might come up to the locker and like look around, and like as long as you were quiet, you would tense up, and like the alien would like, oh, they're not here, I'm gonna go this way. But if you made noise, it would open up the locker and get you.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And it could come after you in the vents and stuff like that. They had those vents that look like anuses that close behind you, like, those circular ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like buttholes. But yeah, so we get Ripley comes out, get away from her, you bitch. Just talking about this scene gets me pumped. I'm almost like, I gotta go to bed soon, but I almost want to just start watching this movie now. Or at least that scene, like the last 26 minutes. But yeah, that's just awesome. And we're just like, oh my god, she's in a mech.
Yeah.
And they have this awesome fight, which I feel like they do a really good job with. But it's mostly close-ups of Sigourney Weaver and the alien, like cut shots, because that must have been hard to do this mech scene.
Right, to get like a wide shot of that, it would have been hard.
Impractical, yeah. It would have looked too fake.
Yeah, because similar to like the alien mother or whatever, like it's like where people are maneuvering the things. It's the same thing with the loader. They are maneuvering, those things as well.
But I love that it's practical too. Like she uses
because she makes it look like you believe that she's the one that's controlling this thing. That it's not just like an animatronic that they're moving around.
And the mother's like she's snapping at her with that maw, and she's just. But the bars are like keeping her at bay, and Ripley's able to move her head.
And she's like she's stabbing her tail in there too, which is
the tail too is awesome, and that thing's sharp as fuck.
Yeah,
and it's she uses she takes a moment to remember that like she pops open the little thing and uses the little flamethrower tool.
Yeah,
which I don't know what.
It's a welding tool.
Is it? It's a welding tool? Okay.
Yeah, I imagine it's a welding tool.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. But yeah, she like burns her with that and keeps her at bay long enough that, she could open the bay doors. And like so this movie does mimic a lot of the things that make this finale of the first film good. There's the countdown, a self-destruct. There are, so they're tropes sort of aliens, and that could be one of the things that maybe Ridley Scott didn't love, the fact that it wasn't original in that aspect, but it still works perfectly for this film. The airlock,
replace Jones with New,
Yeah, the airlock is, it's you're still getting rid of the alien in the same way. You're shooting it out into space.
Yeah,
but
Aliens took what Alien did good and
dialed it up.
Dialed it up
to 11.
And so she opens the
more
doors.
spectacle.
That doesn't go well. She moves the alien, tries to drop it, and the alien fucking flips her,
drags her ass down in there,
and she falls pretty far down, and that's enough. She could have knocked her out too. She falls on top of the alien, so at least that moment the alien's subdued, but it's fucking squirming around like crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she's trying to get out. She's climbing up that ladder, and the alien does grab a hold of her. It's like fuck, and so she pulls down the lever to open up the airlock.
The manual release.
And it's
she wraps her arm around the fucking ladder.
Yeah.
Ripley's strong as fuck, bro.
Yeah.
But I feel like she would have died, but
of course,
still,
who cares?
It's a movie.
Yeah, right. And Bishop and Newt start to get dragged in, and Bishop
saves the day.
And Newt cries out to Bishop, and with his last ounce of strength, he grabs a hold of Newt to keep her from flying out. And
that scene looks awesome.
Yeah, because fuck, are they gonna get sucked in too? Shit. And
yep, he was about to, and he's like, oh.
Yeah, he was and he was half a man, so he was barely holding on to anything.
Exactly, but he still saves the day. He still manages to put Newt first before his own life.
Not bad for a human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he says that. Yeah. And then she, we still get that. I can picture the music in my head too.
Yeah.
In that whole scene, it's so intense.
And this is where it kind of completes the story because Ripley saves the day. Bishop saves Newt. They get everything done, and they embrace. Is she calls her mommy.
Mm-hmm.
It gets me every time. It's like, son of a bitch.
It does. It's really good dialogue.
And yeah, that's it. It's like, can we dream now? It's all the way home, honey. It's they
put Hicks in cryo. He's patched up, and they even get what is it? They get Bishop, situated too. Yeah. Which he does come back into play in the third film.
He does come back. But that's the film, and goddamn, like I said, you could argue if you're a huge fan of the original, you could say, this is just a retread of what they did there. To a degree, I agree. I understand.
It took what worked with that one.
But it is a retread to a degree, but it's doing something different at the same time.
It's like Terminator and Terminator 2 as well. Which are both Cameron films, but they're similar. It's similar also. Terminator could be seen as a horror film, as horror sci-fi. It's like a slasher.
Yeah.
Stalker film. And then the second film is an action-packed sci-fi.
Swap out the T-800 for, was it Jason or Freddy Krueger.
it takes everything that was established in the first film and dials it up, and it just works.
Yeah, and I can see like why people would say that they like this more than the original too. Like
Some people do.
And I will say I have watched this one more than the original. I don't know if I can choose between them. I like both of them for different reasons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
they're both top 5 movies for me in different genres.
Yeah. This would be like definitely in my top 5 action films.
Yeah. It's a perfect film. And when I watch it too, I'm like, I wish this was a video game.
Dude, it'd be great.
Like a good video game.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I love this movie. I think it's a great sequel. Probably to me, it's one of the greatest sequels of all time, if not the greatest sequel of all time. Yeah, I have nothing else really to say about the film.
Yeah, I think it's iconic. I think it's badass. It's like a perfect action sequel to a perfect horror film. All while blending horror and action just so well. It's
there's
like
a very good balance. Good balance.
It's my favorite horror sci-fi action film ever made. The practical effects, its pacing, the kick-ass Space Marines, Hicks, Vasquez, Hudson, as well as Bishop, the synthetic. I thought they're just really great characters. And I think last but not least, there's just some amazing quotable lines too that you'll never forget. Like, "Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No, have you?"
Yeah.
Well,
I guess you don't like the cornbread either. You know what I mean? Like, and then "Game over, man." And then of course we've already touched on it. "Get away from her, you bitch." Like,
yeah,
just some of the really good dialogue in this.
That was it. That line of like, "Have you ever been mistaken for a man?" It's like, "No, have you?" That actually was a real line that was I forget the actress. Like, this is like 30s, 40s Hollywood, where there was an actress that was like, she's actually very attractive, but it's like, I don't know what the context was, but like she was asked like, "Have you ever been mistaken for a man?" And she says like, "No, have you?" And so that's where James Cameron got it. But I forgot who the hell that actress was.
Oh, really? Like somebody asked her that in a fucking interview?
Yeah. And she but she's sharp-witted, so she just like kind of came back at him. And it was everyone fucking laughed at that dude. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, so it comes in this movie. But yeah, that's a quotable line. That's a memorable line. I mean, Hudson's whole fucking dialogue half the time is like so memorable. The lines are quotable. The character, even like a character you might only see for like 5 minutes in the film before they die, you care about them, and it's like, which is hard to do. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I just feel like this film, we didn't touch on it really yet, but I don't know if you want to touch on it with your trivia or not, but I just feel like this film had no business being as good as it was.
Oh yeah,
based on all the production woes that it went through, and it still managed to be like come together into like what is undoubtedly, to me, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. If I was gonna rate it on cut above scale, like this fucks. The Aliens fucks.
Yeah. What you're saying with James Cameron, who he's the director of this one. He got it based off of like how well Terminator did. They liked his script. So Ridley, the problems that Ridley Scott has, he's a British director that's working in America with an American crew. So there's some tension there. We talked about how he was firing off like fucking starter pistols and shotguns, to scare the shit out of the crew. And it's like, dude, we're actors. Like, don't stop that shit. But then you have, in this one, it's the opposite. You have an American director working with a British crew in Pinewood Studios. And one of the big problems was that Cameron he's an egomaniac. Let's be honest. He's not an easy person to work with. He's a brilliant guy. He's smart. He does good work. I don't like all his movies. I don't necessarily like him as a person, but I can't deny the man has a fucking immense amount of talent. He's got
vision.
He's very smart. And so, but he wants things his way. And this I don't know if it was like the cinematographer or whatever. It's like when because he wanted to have, oh, we need to have it much more brighter. It shouldn't be so dark. It's like, well, I don't care what you want. I want it to be dark because that he wanted to continue the aesthetic that was set in the first one.
Yeah.
And the guy did disagree with him, so he's like, well, you're fucking fired. And so he kicked him off the set, and that was a huge no-no for the crew. And like they wanted their tea times, and like they had some sort of, a lot of their union rules. And he's like, well, fuck all you.
Yeah, because it was different.
I'm better than you.
Here.
I know more than you, and we're gonna do it my way or the highway. And it really took Sigourney Weaver to like, because she was kind of more of like the mediators, like, hey, like listen, like she helped to explain his vision. It's like, hey, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, she's very much a diplomat.
She had their respect at that moment because she was an established actress too.
Yeah.
As an Alien, and had Ghostbusters come out already?
Yeah,
84. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like they boycotted Cameron. They weren't going to work with him. They refused to work anymore.
But like it was because of Sigourney Weaver, and Cameron should probably kiss her ass a little bit on this one. But it's
she made him eat crow too. She was sort of like, I spoke to them, but you need to
tell them like what you're trying to do and like explain like why we're doing the things we're doing.
And stop being a dick.
Yeah, and it's like it's because of her, and like from that, then things started to roll more smoothly, and that's where we get like what we got. But it could have been like there's no reason that this film should have worked. I mean, in the way that like the composer was treated too. It's like you gave you said that the guy was gonna have 6 weeks, and then he was like, actually you have like 24 hours.
Well, that's probably because of what the problems that you just said that he had with production, and these guys slowing down, not doing the best work that they could, and then having to come to grips with like, all right, guys, like. Having to regroup everybody and having Sigourney Weaver speak to them and, just slowed everything down. They slowed everything down on purpose. They were trying to sabotage him in a sense because they were mad that he fired that one guy who was also British.
Yeah, and it's like, and I forget the guy's name, but like I know he's done like a bunch of other stuff too. And the guy is like he's a good cinematographer. Just like it just didn't quite. There was just personalities that didn't work together. And it's just like this movie should have been a disaster. It should have been like something like Bonfire of the Vanities, but it ended up being one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, and I feel like once they all came to grips, and basically like, they were on the same level. I feel like that's probably where like the best filmmaking or like production came at that moment, and they just like got it done.
Yeah.
And like you said, it had no business even reaching the finish line the way it did.
But being half as good as it.
Yeah, and it's almost like kind of like unlike a guy like Stanley Kubrick, who is a known dick. I mean, like all his movies are pretty much great, and it's like he was an established guy, and so people are willing to deal with his dickishness because they're going to be in a Kubrick film and they're going to look good. Whereas like Cameron like is kind of an unknown. Like he did Terminator, great. He did he wrote the screenplay for First Blood Part 2, great. But like this is really the movie that established him as a really great director. But like he was still kind of an unknown at the time. So it's like I said, it should have been a disaster. It wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't because this movie is so good. And so Hydraberg gives it you give it a 5 out of 5. This is like, is this like one of your favorite films? Is this like in your like top 5 favorites?
Yeah. So like if I normally put it as like a top 5 action film, if I was going to rate like action films, it's up there with T2.
Okay.
And maybe like Predator or like for me, like, cause I'm an old,
Yeah. I think those are my top 5 action films too. Yeah. Those are all they're
all from around the same time. I love the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like movies now. Like I love the John Wicks and stuff like that, Matrix. But
there's something about the 80s and 90s that just had like brilliant fucking action.
Mm-hmm.
Great action. They're scrappy. They're just like, I don't know, man. It's really good filmmaking.
Yeah. Andy, why don't you give your rating?
I think I'm in agreement with Hydraberg. This is a 5 for me. Just like yeah, this movie had no business being as good as it was or is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I mean, yeah, like, yeah, because even and because I'm usually the guy that dings for like technical stuff, but I'm willing to let all that go because of just how engrossing the movie actually was. Because yeah, like if the alien queen like latched onto the drop ship like at the end, like then Bishop would have felt it in the controls. Like as I say, oh, like there's it's taking me more effort to like or keep this thing steady, or like I have the throttle all the way down, but like we're barely getting off, and
Yeah.
and but because we're so engrossed in the movie, like we just I'm willing to let that stuff go.
Yeah, it's similar when we talked about Diabolique. Like that's a movie that, like, yeah, it has a few flaws, but like it sucks you in, like right from the get go. It's like, and it does this like weird like magic trick on you, where it's like you're not thinking about the flaws. You're thinking like you're like right there with all the characters. Like, yep, I buy this. I can totally buy it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
like a theme park ride where you know that it's not real,
yeah.
and you know that like, all
Right,
right,
yeah,
I'm
there's
gonna
like no
see
real
it.
danger, so yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like once you get in it, you're ready and you take the ride, and it's the ride that matters. It's
Let's see. For me, worst movie ever. No, just kidding. No, of course.
and delete. No, I'm just kidding.
I know Hydraberg rage quits like.
Yeah. No, this is not the worst movie ever. This might be one of the best movies ever. It's a 5 out of 5 for me as well. I mean, that's not surprising. I mean, is that really surprising? Like, this movie is awesome. And, honestly, I'm a little jealous for people who haven't seen either Alien or Aliens. These are some of the greatest movies of all time. And, we talk about like a somewhat disrespected genre and like horror. Alien is one of the greatest horror films of all time. I think one of the most successful ones of all time too. I think it made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
This also made a shit ton of money. It was like a $20 million budget. They made $200 million. So it was super successful. And then it's like and a lot of people argue this is even better than the original. And I wouldn't denote like them thinking that, because I like I said, I've seen this more than I've seen the original.
I hold them up together. Like,
yeah, I can't separate them, to be honest.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I really
they're both spectacular in my opinion, for different reasons.
The rest of the franchise, that's a different story, and we'll talk about that in our further Alien retrospective.
Oh, you're gonna cover more?
Well, so we're gonna cover the whole franchise.
Okay.
We're gonna do Alien 3 and Resurrection.
Well, thanks for bringing me on for the good one. And
Yeah. We're gonna bring you on for like the crappy ones. Yes. Although that's kind of fun too.
It can be.
Yeah.
But again, Rob enjoys schlock. So.
There's a good amount of trivia that you can get from the third film.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and that's it. So what everything that like should have gone wrong that went right in this one was the exact opposite in Alien 3.
Yeah.
But anyways, Hydraberg, I know you're tired. You're on the East Coast.
I'm good.
But I'm saying, like, I want to thank you. I know you're tired. Thank you for coming on. It's just like the trouble production that Aliens was. This is trouble getting this episode.
Well, yeah, because we were supposed to record this episode like a month ago.
Yeah, it's like I said. So, but I said we're doing this kind of late, especially late for you. I really thank you for coming on and like powering through. Thank you for the reach around. I was not expecting that. And for those of you that love a cut above horror review, you get to have those every single week. So before we end, where can people find you, Hydraberg?
So yeah, I'm 1/3 of a co-host of Cut Above Horror Review. We're a horror movie podcast where we rate and review a new, not a new, but a new movie each week. We take turns picking them with Jacqueline and John Richards, my co-hosts, and you can find us on any podcast app. Basically, we're on almost any of them. You can catch us on Instagram at a cut above one word .horror_review. on Twitter at Cut Above Horror, and on Facebook at a Cut Above :horror review.
Yeah, and if you like us a lot, you can also catch us on a Cut Above Horror Review on a couple of episodes. We did, Andy and I did Prom Night. The
Prom Night episode is great. I believe it's like episode 70-something or 60-something.
And then I myself came upon with the Bad Seed review, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you came through in the clutch. We needed a guest.
Yeah. Good
discussion.
Yeah, your guys' podcast is a lot of fun. I listen every week. You guys are great, and I'm just happy to have you hang out with us for a couple hours.
Episode 62 you guys are on for Prom Night, and I'm not lying when I say that is one of my favorite episodes that we've done in a long time.
Dude,
it makes me laugh so much. There's so many funny moments, and it's making I've been putting we're gonna hit 100 episodes soon. And I've been putting together a clip reel of some of the best funny moments, and that section of the clip reel is in there from that episode, because I'm going episode to episode and just cherry picking up moments from them and keeping them in like chronological order basically. And so when we get to that section of the clip reel, next to maybe some of our appearances with Spoils of Horror, like that's some of the funniest moments on that show. And that was the first time you guys, we hadn't actually worked together until that moment.
Yeah.
You knew John already, and John had been on your show, but I hadn't met you guys till then. But as soon as you guys came on the show, like there was just like a chemistry there, and like the jokes were flying. The unibrows were, coming and going.
Jughead, it's like it was amazing. Yeah, we had a great time. I still because I've listened to that episode a couple times going through like some of the episodes.
I have also.
Yeah, it's just like goddamn. I still laugh. It's like I was.
It makes me laugh, man.
It's like you were on it.
It's a good episode. If I'm laughing, it's just so funny.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. These guys are great. Like I said, John's been on with us a couple episodes. We are gonna have Jacqueline on at some point. So we'll have her on soon. I have plans for her. I got her interview planned, all that stuff. So I'll send all that info to you guys later on. But great stuff. That's the review for today. If you want to watch more great Circle of Jerks content, we have a Tuesday live stream, 6 o'clock Pacific time ish. We talk about like the news. We talk about thought exercises, all sorts of good stuff. You can catch older episodes. We have had Hydraberg on for several episodes. So if you love him, he's on our The Thing review. We actually did The Thing from Outer Space, the original, and the John Carpenter remake. And we also had him on for Tetsuo the Iron Man. So if you love
Tetsuo!
Great episodes. So you can check us some of our older content on YouTube. If you want to hit us up on social media, there's the Instagram page, that's Circle of Jerks Podcast. If you want to hit us up on Twitter or Letterboxd, I guess, is it Letterboxd or Letterboxd? I always forget. It looks like they capitalize the D, which makes me think it's Letterboxd D. But
maybe it's Letterboxd.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've heard it said both ways, so I'm confused. Anyways, but if you want to hit us up on Letterboxd, Letterboxd, whatever you want to call it, or Twitter at PodcastCOJ for both of those. And until next time, you have a good one. Enjoy the movies, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Deuces.